Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddard, here today at the end of the year to talk about the small and simple details. We often hear the devil's in the details. I think success is in the details. That your ability to really focus on the things that can really differentiate you, that may seem not as important as maybe you think, are actually really, really important. And today I have with me a very special guest, very good friend of mine, someone that I've admired for a long, long time, someone from whom I've learned a lot from. He owns multiple businesses, very, very brilliant thinker, very brilliant person when it comes to business, customer service. Before I introduce him, let me just remind you that within the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook, we take snippets of the show that allow you to consume the very best part. So if you're not yet a member of the Think Bigger Real Estate group, go there. I also want to put this plug in for you that if you listen to the end of this, Nick is going to reveal something that you are very much going to want to know about. It's a free offering that will actually put money in your pocket. So don't cut out early here. You're gonna miss out on opportunity to really get something for free that would otherwise cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So stay tuned for that. So with that being said, let me introduce today's guest. Again, a very good friend of mine. His name is Nick Hoogendamm. Nick, total pleasure as always. Fun having you on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, fun having you here. Let's now again. You own multiple businesses. You've very successful in multiple. You have a real estate photography business.
Mm-hmm.
I know, very similar to a lot of industries where people can say to themselves that, like, it's good enough, right? Or yeah, I've got a good photographer, or they offer good customer service. What does that mean? How do we really differentiate ourselves? And I know you've really studied this because you obviously compete with other photographers who do good work. Talk to us a little bit about kind of you getting into this business. What did you see as the opportunity that maybe others weren't seeing or weren't doing well? You felt like you could make a big enough difference that people would say, I'm going to really move my business to you.
Right. So a handful of things, and really probably all stems from like my past professional experience. Every business career that I've had has had a big kind of a hospitality customer service influence. I did originally start in the restaurant business. I have a couple of other businesses that, that require really positive interactions with our clients or our customers in order to build and maintain relationships, and in order to, that to turn into, future success for that endeavor. So those are the lessons that I've learned in those experiences. Definitely influences me here. I think that with many businesses today, I would argue that real estate probably is one of them too, from the agent's perspective, lending, the insurance world. The product that is being offered is often really similar from one company to another. So when the customer is making the decisions as to who they're going to do business with, if it's simply the product itself, then the numbers and the end value, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of difference. And so there's some similarities to that in the real estate photography world, where the final product, you could pick 10 different real estate photographers, and 9 out of 10 of them are probably going to give you something usable to good. And so what is that, those pieces, those things that you do differently in order to earn and retain the business of your customers? And so that's kind of the lens that I look at it through. And I'll let you get a follow-up question in there as to where you want to lead the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's great because you're right. There are a lot of real estate photographers. There's a lot of title companies. There's a lot of everything, right? Real estate agents, mortgage loan officers. How do you really differentiate yourself without necessarily having to do this race to the bottom of, we do the same, we just charge less?
Yep.
I don't think that's a good decision for anybody to make. And if that's your value proposition is we charge less, I think you'll always lose that game, whether in the short term, because there are other people that are willing to do it for less, and in the long term, because eventually you're not going to be profitable,
right?
Maybe not even profitable right away. And over time, again, that's not a way to build a great business. And so, again, we've got to go in and we've got to look at the details. I would ask you, Nick, because I think obviously your value proposition becomes part of a real estate agent's value proposition, right? Your work,
Sure.
when somebody says, I have a real estate photographer that's going to come in, and the way that then allows that agent to market their home is your value proposition. What do you like? What are some things that you do specifically in your business that really make real estate agents stand out from maybe just kind of the mediocre level real estate, photography package?
Sure. So I think that, obviously there needs to be a big emphasis on the actual product itself, and that's delivering really high quality images, so that the home is presented in a way that's likely to attract more buyers, and all that leads to with higher purchase prices and, new client opportunities. But again, that's the basic level, right? If you are in real estate photography, you must accomplish that. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful at all.
Right? That's the baseline. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not competing with anybody that can't do that to begin with. I think that where things can really become more special and more unique and different is understanding that myself as a real estate photographer, as you mentioned, is an extension of the real estate agent's team, right? From their client's perspective, I am working for them, with them. So everything that I do ultimately falls back on them, whether positive or negative. And so I consider it to be my job to make sure there's only positive emotions and experiences for the homeowner when I'm interacting with them, and then obviously making sure that the final product is something that they're excited about too. What that specifically looks like, people's homes are like, that's a precious thing, right? So I've got a deep amount of respect for their space. And that comes into just really small things like, no, I do not wear shoes in someone's house. And that seems simple and probably a no-brainer. But I would imagine there are people that don't consider that. Asking questions, can I open this door? Can I, mess with this part of the house to try to, adjust something for an image? And then even going so far as to try to get them excited about the photography process as well, right? If it's their home, it's something they've probably spent a lot of time working on. They've got a lot of pride in it. And I want them to think and feel that they've done a good job, and that their love of their home is actually going to be a selling tool for the house, and how the final images come out. Sometimes I'll even give them a little sneak peek of a photo that I think is going to turn out really good. It looks good on my camera. Or if I was doing some aerial shots, I just did this yesterday where there's a property out in Canby that's got a gorgeous view of Mount Hood. And so I pulled some of the aerial images off of my drone onto my phone and just flipped through them really quickly with the homeowner. And they were ecstatic, right? Like, they know it looks great, but they're excited that someone else is going to see that and potentially fall in love because of that. And so I think that if I'm capable to create those really positive interactions with the customer, with the homeowner, then that ultimately is going to make its way back to their final opinion of the real estate agent. I think that's extremely important.
Anybody that's listening to this, whether you're listening to it live or you're listening to the podcast afterwards, I would encourage you to either put in the comments right now, like, what is something that I do to really evoke positive emotion in my clients? Again, it's one thing to do something. It's another thing to really do it with the express intent to cause them to have a positive feeling. And I love that you said that, Nick, because it's a whole other layer of customer service. Where we do stuff, it's part of a checklist, and we be sure not forget anything. But this whole other level of what do I do to actually give the people the ability to feel something different? And again, so if you listen to this, I would encourage you to what is it that you do that causes people to feel a certain way? And what are you trying to get them to feel? Is it safety? Is it security? Is it confidence? Is it excitement? Like you just described, Nick, which is really cool. Like, look at these pictures. This is amazing. Like, you just allow them to feel this excitement about it, which again, for you, as a real estate agent using you, it's like, wow, you were an extension of me and allowed my clients to feel excited about the process, which now makes them excited about the whole selling process, right? So again, if anybody has any thoughts on that, what do you do specifically to evoke an emotion out of your people when it comes to that customer service side? So great stuff. Great stuff.
I might add something to it really quickly too, that I think was a big epiphany for me when I finally realized everything we're talking about is a matter of expectations, right? What does the person that you're interacting with expect you to do versus what do you actually do? They have a list of expectations. And if you meet those, that is unexciting, right? It is exactly what they thought was going to happen. Mm-hmm. If you don't meet those, if you overlook something, that is very much going to be noticed, right? So it's a matter of being aware of what people think is going to happen and making sure you check all of the boxes.
Yeah.
Because it's inevitable that what's an analogy? Let's say you hire a cleaning company to come in and clean your house, right? Mm-hmm. And they leave dust and dirt all over the place. Your expectations were that the house is going to be clean. That is a very big problem that the house is not clean. But if you hire a cleaning service and you come in and your house is spotless, perfect. That's exactly what you wanted to have happen. It is unremarkable. So you want to be unremarkable on the things that, check those list of expectations. On the flip side of that, though, I think is the extras. And that's what we've been talking about so far on the positive side of things. I'm trying to be conscious of the potential negatives as well. But I think the positives is really where those like new kind of aha, oh my goodness, I didn't expect that. And that's great emotions can come from. So knowing somebody's going to come to my house, take pictures, I'm probably going to have to stay out of their way. I need to make sure my house is clean versus, that person came in and they complimented me on, my interior design choices. And then they were very respectful and like asked if I could, go explore the house and tweak little things. And then, all the things we just discussed.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Yeah. It's one thing to avoid the negative emotions. It's another one to intentionally evoke the positive, right? It's a whole nother layer of customer service. But again, I think at those moments, you're able as a well-paid professional to like ask for referrals, right? Because you're giving them a moment of increased excitement, of increased joy in the experience. That if you're attuned to that, and you can almost systematically put that in place, is that when our photographer comes, he shows them a specific image that gets them excited. I follow up afterward and say, boy, I saw some of those photographs. Those look amazing. We're so excited about this process. There's certain things that you can do procedurally, some of them spontaneous, but some of them just procedurally that intentionally create this ongoing customer service experience that allow you then to request their help in return, right? That this is not a normal experience. This is not a mediocre common experience, just like they're going to get with every other provider. This is different. This is elevated. Who do you know that would appreciate this level of service, right? It kind of lends itself. It's a nice setup for that.
No, I think that's a really good point, and actually probably something that that I need to be more aware of, right? Like these are just things that I do inherently because, as I mentioned, I spent 12 years in the restaurant business in fine dining. My job in an hour and a half was to make the people that I was taking care of absolutely love me, because that benefited me financially, but also just in general, because I care, like have the most amazing experience. And like, that's just my job. So for me, it wasn't necessarily, it's not something that I've communicated as a thing that's going to happen to the agents that I work with. So they probably are not expecting it and able to leverage it in the way that you're suggesting. So that's probably something that I need to better communicate to them, so they know it's happening and they can reference it later as kind of something to take pride in and to leverage with their customers.
And to count on and to expect. And I think when people are choosing their providers, it's not about just finding the lowest price vendor. Just like you don't want to be that person that is the lowest cost provider. You can begin to choose who are the people that get this at a higher level, that realize how important that client experience is, that in essence is wearing my company jersey, right? Mm-hmm. That when they're involved in the transaction, even though we're separate companies, the client doesn't recognize that. This is the photographer that you brought to the table, and they were amazing, or they weren't, right? Or the title company, or the lender, or the on and on. And I think you can start to really realize that in order to remain well paid, when big tech has you and me and all of us in their in their sites, trying to figure out how to remove some of our commission and replace us with algorithms and lower paid customer service representatives. How do we defend against that and give clients a reason to want to stay with us. And I think it involves not just being our own value proposition, but surrounding ourselves with people like you, Nick, people that can intentionally create an experience that evokes an emotion that you can build a system around that allows you to not just have it happen, but then be able to articulate that it's happened and that it's not common, right?
Right.
It's powerful stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
Talk to us a little bit about, I know part of kind of the magic of what you do is just you make it easy for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know you've described a little bit about when you're doing real estate photography, how easy it is to schedule. And I don't need you to share all your secrets here, right? But how easy it is to schedule, how easy it is to get the prints, to get the photographs. And again, I don't know what this looks like from other providers, but when you said that to me, like what your turnaround time is, I thought, my goodness, that just makes it easy. And I think a lot of what we've got to be very attuned to in this Amazon world, where it's like search, click, delivered in 2 days, sometimes even 2 hours. Like, we have to compete with that, even though we aren't competing with them yet, right? We have to compete with the fact that they just make it really easy. So describe to us kind of what you do there. And I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of how you've, again, done that. And I want to kind of give a shout out here to Tim Hunter. Thank you so much. Always over-promise and over-deliver. What a cool concept, right? Instead of under-promise, over-deliver, like over-promise and then over-deliver from that. Great comment, Tim.
Cool. So, I think that as much as I want to be remarkable to my agents and my clients, I also want, how do I say it? Like, I want them to not even think about me, right? And what I mean by that is, when they're at the point of the listing process of needing real estate photography done, they know that they will be able to count on me to be there when I say that I'm going to be there, that I'm going to communicate well, that I'm going to deliver on time, and that the images are going to look good. And that's it, right? Like, under no circumstances should the job that I do be a point of friction or a point of pain for them. And I think that is something that is definitely important for me. It's something that I'm really conscious of. And so, to that point, the kind of the specific tactical things that you had referenced, transparency to my schedule, right? When you go to book a listing shoot, you don't have to have a 5 text exchange or a phone call with me. Just go do it. It's there. You have my schedule. Book it whenever you want. Tell me if you're going to be there, if I'm just meeting the owner, if you're giving me a lockbox code. It's there. It's easy. From a delivery perspective, my promise is always less than 24 hours. And I think that there's been a number of situations where I've had agents say, we're trying to go live tomorrow. Can you make this happen? Always yes. The answer is always yes. Yeah. I can imagine a time where some crazy, unreasonable request will come to me, and then I might say no. But when it's something like that, where this is what they need in order to, move forward with the timeline that they promised with their client, or whatever the circumstances may be, under no circumstances should I be the roadblock to that being accomplished. And as far as, communication, I think that is critical and way taken for granted in all of our respective industries, right? Some of the biggest struggles that I've had in a home buying transaction have been through poor communication, right? Someone not doing what they say they're going to do, or requiring me to be the one to ping them, as opposed to them, proactively reaching out. I text to confirm a new listing shoot, even though they already just got an email and booked it on my calendar. I text when I am the day of to confirm, when I arrive, and when I leave. So they know. There's no questions. Did Nick make it out there? Was he late? Sometimes I am. The agent's going to know that. It's just little things like that that I think add up to a unique customer experience that is something that I think a lot of people value. Yeah.
I think the follow-up question that I would like to ask everybody here that's listening, whether you're listening to this live or whether you're listening to this later, right? The first question was, what do you do intentionally to evoke a positive emotion in your clients? The second question that Nick's really prompted here is what are you doing to make it easier for your clients, to remove the friction, which I love that term, Nick. I think you were actually the one that brought that term to my attention some time ago, and you've kind of reinvigorated that within me of like, yeah, what's causing this to be difficult at all for the clients, and how do I go about removing that? How do I just make it easy, right? How do I make it easy for them? And I think that there's a lot of separation between you and the common provider when you start to think like that. Again, the success is in the details, right? These aren't big, huge things. You're not changing the world with these little things, but you're just making it a little bit easier. It's good stuff. I'm going to write that question here in the comments, and I would encourage anybody that's listening to this again live or later, be thinking, even put in the comments for us, put down like, what do you do to make it easier for your clients? It's great stuff. Any follow-up comments to that, Nick, that you would say would be important for people to know about your process, through which we could then learn how to improve our service?
Most of it would just be reiteration. Like those are kind of the core tenets that I run my businesses based off of.
Yeah.
I think that everybody tries very hard to find the new and the innovative, and I applaud that. And when they can accomplish it, I think it's great. But man, you cannot discount the importance of communicating very proactively and often, and meeting the base level expectations that they have, and then finding ways to go above and beyond and evoke those positive emotions. So I don't really have anything extra to add. I think that those are just really key business principles, though, that should be like, when you think and talk about your business, you probably assume that they're already being done. Like, yes, I do those things, but I think it's important to have a certain amount of self-awareness and humility to be able to look back and ask, am I actually accomplishing that? And in a lot of, just me as a consumer, the businesses that I interact with, most of them, the answer is no, right? There's a lot of things left on the table there.
Yeah. Great stuff. And obviously just got a plug from one of your clients there. That was not staged. That was actually
Thanks,
Stephanie, for that, being a great follower of the show and a big fan of Nick, which we all are. So again, our follow-up questions, and I want everybody to leave from this episode, right? This isn't entertainment, folks. This is how to actually help you to think bigger, be a high achiever. What do you do to evoke positive emotions in your clients? Okay, that's question number one. Question number two is, what are you doing to make it easier on your clients, to remove any friction? You walk away with answers to those things. You'll walk away with answers to probably how you achieve your goals in this upcoming year. So, Nick, let's move now to the signature question of the show, right? Where we help people to think bigger. I know you are a big thinker. I've always found that about you. I know you've helped me in numerous ways, numerous projects, always expanding my thinking and my possibilities. So I want to ask you that question now, which is, what does Nick Hoogendamm do to continue to be a big thinker?
Boy, you didn't prep me for this question. I think that ambition has become one of the biggest drivers. And I don't think about this just for me as an individual, but for me and my wife as a team. We have big goals. Like, we want to accomplish a lot of stuff and create better lives for ourselves. And I think that just that motivation and like genuine desire to accomplish that has given us the push and the courage and the motivation to explore things that we may not have done otherwise, and to actually take action and like put significant resources behind them. And so I think that understanding, it's again, another really cliche catchphrase, right? It's just all about why. Like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? And if that reason is strong enough, it's going to force you to think in different ways and act in different ways. And I think that that in and of itself creates a lot of cool growth.
Yeah. I learned, again, how to be a big thinker how to be a big thinker just by being close to you. For those that don't know, Nick has a growing real estate empire. You might not hear that from a lot of your real estate photographers, but again, Nick owns multiple businesses, and one of the things that he and his wife are doing is building a real estate small empire. It's very, very exciting to see. So anyway, yes, I agree with you that having
empire feels a little big right now, but we're doing some things, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you've got some properties in some really cool places. So kind of follow-up question to that, like how does somebody who's listening to this, who maybe says, I want to have more ambition, because you're right, ambition is kind of like, okay, well, he's got it. How do I get it? Any idea? And I don't know the answer to this. I might have an idea. I might have a follow-up answer. So if you're stumped, I have one idea, but how do you get more ambition? Where does that come from?
I mean, I think that like my wife Brandy and I, like, we dream a lot, right? We think about like how our lives are today and how we want them to be different in the future. Mm-hmm. An example of that, which has created a lot of ambition towards these different businesses. We want to own one of the Sprinter converted adventure vans.
Yeah. Because
we both love photography and we love the Pacific Northwest and outdoors and seeing all the things, but it's very difficult to go pick up and drive, 3-4 hours in one day and then be back because you've got to sleep in your bed. Mm-hmm. You have your dogs or you left them somewhere, whatever it may be, or your kids, if you've got a family. And so like that, as weird as it sounds, like that's a big motivation for me. I can't even begin to imagine how cool it will feel to one day grab my camera gear, load up some food and a change of clothes and go hop in my van and drive down to the Southern Oregon coast, which I don't ever go to, right? Yeah. Or drive out to the Painted Hills or to the Wallowas. And like, it's not a big deal. That's an easy weekend, right? Because your bed, your hangout space. Anyways, you can clearly tell that I get excited about it. I think that dreaming and not being afraid to creates a lot of ambition for me. Is that the answer? Probably not. It's an answer. It's the one I've got for you, good or bad.
So it's interesting, Nick. I do a lot of business planning with agents, and it's interesting how oftentimes our goals, and I'll put myself in the same category, are just kind of right above comfortable, right? It's like, okay, comfortable plus maybe a vacation. And I think it's interesting that you start to hit the targets that you aim at, right? And I think for a lot of us, we don't allow ourselves to dream because maybe we've been let down in the past. Maybe we just don't have the self-confidence to believe that it's possible. But as I've interviewed big thinkers, people that have done some amazing things, it always starts. There's no other way to start than to start to dream. Yeah. And I love the fact that you said it, because without the dream, it's never possible, because it's not even in existence, the fact that it could ever be yours. So it always starts there. What you do after that, I'm not saying that that's all you have to do. Right. There's a number of steps you have to do, like get after it, right? But none of that comes unless you start to dream a little bit. And I think, again, this being what I believe to be will be the final episode of 2020, that maybe it's time for all of us to focus a little bit, of just dedicate some time to just dream a little bit, to say what's possible for others. Maybe some of that's possible for me, right? If somebody else did it, maybe I could do it too. And I'm not saying from a competitive standpoint. I'm just saying, like, don't give yourself an artificial ceiling that may absolutely be that artificial.
Totally.
If there's something like what Nick just described there that lights you up. So for me, Nick, I'll dream here a little bit as well, is I dream of the day when I can have a beautiful, large, like, motor coach. And I've got my family in the back, and I'm actually streaming the Think Bigger Real Estate show from this large vehicle where I have my favorite people all in, and our dog. Right. And we're going to do like education with our kids to like U.S. history sites, right? Like out in the field, doing the learning together, out seeing the world, kind of like you described, without the normal kind of tethers, that we would otherwise see. So yeah, that's a dream of mine, and I think it's really fun to be around people. And I would encourage you that if you are not finding yourself, anybody that's listening to this, that if people around you aren't encouraging you to do that or aren't okay with you doing that, you need to intentionally put yourself in places where other people are doing that, where it's permissible and acceptable and invited, And just know that this show will always be that for you. So
I would argue that that is probably one of the most important points to take away, is the influences of the people around you. Until I met my wife, that was like, I worked restaurants. It was what I did. I was really good at it and I loved it. My salary ceiling was probably going to be $50,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. And that was fine. And I didn't think that I could accomplish or expect anything more than that. But Brandy's not like that. Brandy's a competitor. Like, she wants something, she's going to figure out how to get it. And like, that motivation and drive is contagious. So,
well, we're going to schedule a double date as a result of this.
Nice.
That's exciting, man. So fun. Thank you so much for giving such a thoughtful answer to that question that I think will benefit all of us. It's been so fun to hear, again, the focus on the details, as well as kind of this opportunity of dreaming. Again, I promised something at the beginning of this episode to anybody that listens. Would you mind sharing, Nick, kind of what you're offering to real estate agents, obviously kind of in the Portland metro area? For listening outside the area, I apologize. Maybe at some point Nick will expand out there. He's a big thinker. You never know. But share with us kind of what your offer is to those that are listening today.
Sure. I think all the things that I've said today are things that a lot of people in many different businesses claim, right? They say, if you work with me, this is what you're going to get, but you don't actually know until you experience it. And so the offer that I have for local agents that have any listings is a complimentary photo shoot for one of their listings, to find out for free if the things that I say are accurate. And the photo quality work will be good, so you're not going to lose anything there. But really to determine if those extra details actually exist in the way that I painted them. So for any agent that I've never worked with before, it'd be my pleasure to shoot a listing for you and kind of show you what my process looks like. And that's it. And I suppose probably want to know how they can accomplish that. nixpnwphoto.com is my website. There's a contact form on there, or there's a button on the real estate page that says Real Estate Client Portal. There's different ways to reach me there if you're interested, or you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be.
nixpnwphoto.com. All right. Yep. Okay. I just put it in the show notes here for any that are watching, and if you're listening, obviously go to that website. If you're looking for a sample of what Nick Hoogendamm can do for you, everything from client experience to even maybe on the side helping you dream a little bit bigger. So, Nick, it's been such a pleasure as always. Thanks for teaching us and inspiring us today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm inspired by being around people, even those of you that are in the comments here. Thank you, and I'm excited about 2021. I think everybody in the world is. And it's going to be an amazing year because we're going to make it so. So anyway, I share that. And my final request to everybody is let's go think bigger. Thanks so much, Nick. Such a pleasure, my friend.
Thanks, Bye.